Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. I am back with a new upcycled fashion video. It has been 7 months since the last episode. I took a break. And I am back, and I hope to keep up with this series for a very long time. Once upon a time, I had Peanut Gallery members sending me clothing for Upcycled Fashions. Please know that I do not need any more clothing, so if you have my address, which I gave out long ago, please do not send anything at this time. This particular skirt came from Julie from Ohio. If you are still with us, Julie, hello, and thank you so much for this skirt. I am going to turn this skirt into a tank top. We're going to give that a try. Now you might say, why do that when you can just go buy a tank top? It's because the shape of the skirt is like an A-line, and it's just going to give a little bit more flare around the body of the tank top. And at least that's what I'm hoping. I think it might look good. This is a nice stretchy knit, stretches in all 4 directions, so it's going to drape nicely. And for those of you who are bigger around the middle but not so much up top, you might be able to knock out some tank tops for yourself out of skirts. It doesn't necessarily have to be stretch, but you can get a lot of fabric out of a skirt. Now this one is not that wide, so I think it will look good on my mannequin as is, but you certainly can get a flared skirt if you need a lot more room. And I just thought, what the heck, we're just going to transform this into something else, and that is what I'm going with. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to use as a pattern for the tank top. I am sure you remember my mannequins. They are still wearing the same clothes from way back when I was doing this series. Now this particular outfit was a dress that I cut and attached to a tank top just to make a one-piece dress. This dress was, you know, the fabric was beautiful, but it was just like a little bra type top, so I just sewed it on to a tank. Now I like the shape of this tank. It has, you know, the wide shoulders, and the sleeves a little bit, the armholes are a little bit bigger than I like, but we're going to use that as the pattern for the tank that I'm going to make. The first thing I'm going to do is cut the elastic waist off. And I sometimes like to keep things like elastic waists, so I could leave maybe an inch of fabric, and sometimes if I find some material, like, you know, just even some plain black material and I want a waistband for it, I can just sew it right onto this. So that's what I'm going to do. The skirt is long enough. I'd like the tank to be long, but I think it's long enough that I can, you know, take a little bit extra off the waistband. So I'm just going to go here and, you know, make a little slit, and I'm just going to cut and just eyeball it. Maybe I can turn it this way. I can see it a little bit better this way. And I'm just going to cut all the way around. Have to remember to stay under the camera. And when you cut fabric like that, just be careful that you're not cutting through both layers. So I'm just going to save this guy. Now this skirt does have 2 side seams, so I'm going to match those up. I'm going to fold it in half, and I don't care that this is crooked because we're going to be cutting anyway. Just matching up the 2 side seams, and we look like we're good to go. This should be a very simple project. If you don't have a skirt to cut and you want to make a tank top or even a long full-length dress, a tank dress, you can just get yourself some stretchy fabric and cut a big piece as wide as you want, and then take whatever tank you have that fits good and use that as a pattern. Now you'll notice that the back of a shirt is always higher than the front. So what I'm going to do is start by cutting the back, and then I will continue on to make a lower neckline for the front. Now, generally, back and front of sleeves are also different. The back usually sticks out a little bit more. This one, not so much. And since it's a tank, I am going to go ahead and just follow this line. I might make it a little bit shorter here, and just going to go with that. So what do? Oh, yeah. So I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to line up my folds And I'm going to turn it just a little bit because I want it to stay that A line. Okay, I'm just going to start here and I'm going to just cut like this and like this for the back. I'll cut the front after, and I'm just going to cut here for the sleeves. I mean for the armholes. I keep saying sleeves. Like that. Now I can pull this away. This part's done. And I just need to fold one side. Is there a difference here? Am I fussy? Let me just look and see if there's any flaws or anything that I need to be concerned with. No, this looks good. So we're going to make this be the front. And I'm just going to fold this front part in half. Let's pull everything out of the way. And now I'm just going to go here and go about an inch deeper. But I'm still keeping this the same width. So I'm going to like start here and then just work my way up right to that same point. Like that. And that should be good enough. Now all we have to do is sew this baby together. So I'm going to turn it inside out, and I'm going to start by sewing the shoulder seams. I'm trying to think. I could have made the front a little bit deeper, the neckline, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to sew there and there, and I will take you to the machine with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a zigzag stitch, and I could fold it over once, and that helps to stabilize it a little bit. So that's how I'm going to do it. However, I'm going to practice on a piece that I cut off the neck. How about I do that? So I'm just going to fold over. Just want to see what my stitch is going to be like. The trick is just to not pull when you're working with a stretch. I'm going to do a zigzag. Let's try that. All right, that seems to be working pretty good for me. I just have it like on a medium width zigzag and 8 stitches per inch. You just play with it and your machine will let you know what's right for you. Okay, here I go. So I'm going to fold this over just once and a zigzag. Some of you might be wondering why I didn't go back and forth at the beginning and the end. You never have to do that if you're going to be sewing over it. And in this case, I will be hemming this. I will be folding over and hemming that. So there was no need to reinforce that stitch on each end. All right, next. Now that I'm thinking of it, I regret that I made this thick because I do have to come around and hem the sides here. Okay, I'm taking that apart. So I'm just going to take my handy dandy little snippers, or you can use a seam ripper, and I'm just going to go in and snip like every 3rd stitch. And you'll be really happy you didn't go back and forth when you have to seam rip something, because that's just extra work. And then I just start to rip it apart and just snip where I need to. So see, I already screwed up once. I just realized it would be overly bulky. No need for that. Okay, that was a bit more of a pain in the ass than I anticipated. And you'll hear a Family Feud now because my mother just put the TV on. Okay, let's start again. Make sure you attach a front to a back and don't attach your 2 fronts or 2 backs together. That wouldn't be cool. All right, I'm going to just put these 2 together, and I'm going to just sew across with a zigzag stitch, which is easier. I should have done that in the first place. And I broke my thread, which probably means I should change my needle, but I'm going to just use it anyway. That's the kind of seamstress I am. You generally want a ballpoint needle, is that what they're called? For knits. I try to always just use universal needles so I can do both knits and wovens. All right, here we go again. If it breaks again, I might have to do something about it. And it did. Welcome to Upcycled Fashions. Now I remember why I gave up on this series. Oh my God, do I really want to change the needle? I'm under the impression it's not that. Maybe my tension is too tight. Let's try that. Don't want to change needles. This one has probably only been in here for a year. There are some people who change needles for every single project, or for a quilt, they'll change it like several times during a project. Fuck that shit. We did it! Yay! Other side. 2 hours later, we got that step done. Now, I'm going to turn it right side out, because when I do hemming, I like to have my right side out, and then I lay my work down. All right, so what I do is I'm just going to take this and fold once, and then one more time, and I'm just going to sew that. And that's going to hem the armholes. Maybe I should go throw this on my mannequin really quick, though, and make sure it's cut the way I want. Hang on. I want to make the armholes just a little bit smaller. So this is the side seam, which was, the side of the skirt. It's going to be the side of the tank. And I'm just going to go up here and sew a little bit. Well, let me show you. This is the side seam, and this is what is going to be the bottom of the armhole. And I'm just going to come in, maybe like 3/4 of an inch, and sew down until I meet this line. And that has a little bit of a crooked cut, so let me just trim that. Good, good. So I'm just going to put the tip on like my number 6 line, so I'll remember to do that. Same thing to the other side. And I have a skipped stitch right there. That's what that looks like, and that is because of the needle and or the tension. I used to do a lot of sewing with knits, and sometimes it can take a little bit to make things work. And now I'm going to just trim this excess fabric off. There are some knits that are much easier to work with than others. This one is being a little bit troublesome. Okay, now we're going to flip this. I can see that somebody hand sewed this. You can see the stitches. That was not by the manufacturer, and that's okay. All right, I'm going to start on an armhole because that's the least obvious. We'll save the neck for last. By then we might have perfected what we're doing. And I start at the bottom of the armhole. So I fold over once and then twice. And it still makes a pretty big bump on the seam, so I start a little bit ahead of that just to get going. And I double fold a little bit in advance, and now I just go. And if you are skipping stitches, you can also try making your stitches not so far apart and not so wide. All right, I'm having serious issues. I'm changing needles. I'm going to force myself to, without tearing apart every drawer I have in this house to find needles. This is what I came up with. I have a universal point, size 16. That's big. I don't want a big needle going in and out of this fabric because that will make it skip. But this is good for knits. I have a needle, a red band needle, which is for woven, but it's small, size 9. So I am going to use the small needle for woven. I think that will be better than a big needle for knits. How do I open this? This is probably 100 years old, but needles should be good. They haven't been used yet. So let's give this a try. You know, if you don't have the right needle, it doesn't mean you can't sew your project. You know, sometimes you can just try something else. For instance, denim. You know, obviously if you're sewing a pair of jeans and you're going through like, you know, a double seam on the edge, you know, you need a strong needle for that. But if you're just sewing denim together, people think you have to have a denim needle, which is really big and strong and tough. A fine, thin needle, to me, works better. So you just play with it, break some rules, and you'll find other ways to do things. Yeah, I can tell this is a smaller needle because the hole is tiny. Back to the drawing board. My Upcycled Fashions rebirth is not going smoothly. So this side is messy, but we're going with it. Looks good on the black part. You can't see. I don't see any new skipped stitches using the woven needle, smaller needle. 2 minutes to cut this and 4 days to finish. Folding over once, folding over twice. You get to hear all the news on my mother's TV. When I get to the end, now I do back stitch a little bit and forward. Okay, my bottom stitch looks a little too tight, so the top is too loose. I'm going to tighten that a little bit. I don't see any skipped stitches. This looks actually decent. Let's hope I can do the neck. Fold once, fold twice. We are done. The neck looks pretty good, and that's the part that I wanted to look good. Let's go put this on the mannequin. I absolutely love the way this came out. It just fits so nicely. It's nice and loose, but because of the stretchy fabric and the A-cut, it drapes so nice. Oh my God. I did want to mention, if you want to see me make this, I believe that was a 2-part series. I made that outfit and the little bag out of one man's dress shirt. So I will link to that down below. Okay, so as for this, I'm not going to pull my mannequin out to show you the back. It looks just like the front, only it's in the back. I had taken the arm in a little bit, and I'm glad I did, because that made it a little bit smaller. Oh, but I just really like it very much. If you want to turn a skirt into a tank top, give it a try. And it really was easy. And if you find a knit that's, I call it a more stable knit, this is like very stretchy, like spandex almost. If you have more of a knit that is cotton knit or even rayon knit, you'll have a much easier time at putting this baby together. So just look at the content if you're using an actual skirt. And again, you don't have to use a stretch fabric. If the fabric is wide enough, you can just use a woven fabric. So give it a try. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back with more upcycled fashions soon. Bye!